And we're back. Mike CERNOVICH, DangerandPlay.com, Gorilla Mindset. Do I look refreshed or tired to you? What do you think of this hair? What do you think of the hair? A lot of people pay for hair like this. This is natural, no implants or nothing. So today, today I was talking to a journo. Today. And I told them real talk, right? I told them real talk. And I said, sometimes you got to reflect on your life. And here right now is where we are as a country, as people. Hold on, Lucian texted me. Give me 1 second. Lucian's texting me. Can I read his text? Okay, gotcha. Oh, amazing. Okay, what do we got going on? This is about life, dude. The discussion now is that Trump posted a pro wrestling GIF that has the media in a titsy. So I'm going to give you the 30-second summary of it, and then I'm going to tell you why I'm just feeling demoralized. Here's the 30-second summary. If this is all you want, the quotable bit, watch it for the next 30 seconds, tick, 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 and then you can go away. And then I'm going to go into a long diatribe. Trump is taking away the media's moral authority by making them look like humorless, common scolds. That's a term of art. Common scold. There you go. It didn't even take me 30 seconds. Mike CERNOVICH doesn't even need 30 seconds to tell you what is really going on. The media is looking petty, trivial. They look like common scolds. They look humorless. They look uncool. They have no glamour. They just look like whiny little basic bitches and basic bros. They look pathetic. Brian Stelter's crying. These are multimillionaires. So that's what Trump is really doing. What they're really doing is he's making the media look petty. And if you're the media, you can't look petty because then you want to talk with gravitas. You don't have gravitas. This is what they don't. This is a branding attack that is going on. This is, by the way, this isn't intentional by Trump, by the way. This is just all pure instinct by Trump. Trump is making the media look petty, trivial. They're crying on Twitter about a pro wrestling GIF. That's the media. So it reveals them to be petty, frivolous, trivial people. So then when they talk about Russia, nobody cares. Right? You can't take people who cry on the internet about GIFs or GIFs, pro wrestling GIFs, when they want to talk about serious issues, they have no gravitas, so they're losing moral authority. So that is what is really happening here, is they're not above the fray. They're being seen as not above the fray. So then when they do come and talk about a real issue, of matter of national import, everybody just thinks, oh, these guys are petty. Who cares? They're trivial people. By responding to this, the media is trivializing itself. That's the quote. Now, people can say, oh, well, Trump is bringing down people can say, you can criticize a Trump tweet, but that's the whole thing. Here's what you have to learn about in life. Is you can play whose fault it is all you want. Well, Trump is not making you do anything. If you're in the media, you don't have to respond to anything that Trump is saying. You can talk about whatever you want to talk about. These are multi-billion-dollar corporations. Since when were multi-billion... I thought corporations were evil. What happened to the idea that, greedy multinational corporations are evil, but I guess if you're a media corporation, then even though you're a profit-making enterprise, somehow you're good and right and everything that's right in the world. So they don't have to talk about it. So I'll tell you what I did today, because I felt really depressed. Not depressed like clinical. There are people with real depression. But I just thought, like, God, dude, this is our life. Trump is tweeting a pro wrestling GIF, and then our job in the media, and media watchdogs like me, is to talk about pro wrestling GIFs. This is not how I want to live my life. This is not how I want to live my life. Trivial, petty, catty nastiness, right? That isn't how I got to where I am in life. The reason I got to where I am in life, other than the alimony, of course, but to get the kind of alimony that I got, you had to have mad game. To get the kind of alimony that I got, you got to have mad game. You just don't get, you just don't get alimony like that. But other than the alimony, what got me to where I was and where I am was reading, a book a week, 2 books a week, 3 books a week, books on philosophy, literature, culture, cognitive psychology, the theory of consciousness, the theory of mind, taking the great courses in the teaching company, Stress in the Human Body by Robert Sapolsky, the cognitive science, evolutionary psychology. That's how I got to where I am. Today is actually reading and thinking about deep issues, and my life is just shallow. It's just shallow. And that's what the media wants, is a shallow world, but it doesn't have to be that way. So I've been sucked in to this vortex of pettiness, right? Because I'm on my Twitter. My Twitter's getting record numbers, right? My Twitter, but I'm just like, record numbers for this bullshit? I don't want to get record numbers for pithy responses to this stupidity, right? I don't want that. Oh, wow, I got record numbers. Woohoo, big views. And that's all the media cares about, because it's all advertising. They don't actually care about raising the discussion. They don't care about having deep conversations. All they care about is their petty little ego. So what did I do today? Well, I'll tell you. I read a little bit from the Solzhenitsyn Reader. So Alexander Solzhenitsyn wrote a book called 200 Years. It's about the relationship between Russians and Jews, and how some of the conflicts they had, and some of the anti-Semitism and some of the pro-Semitism. So, but the only place you can find that is in the Solzhenitsyn Reader. So today I read a little bit of the Solzhenitsyn Reader, and I read about the relationship, the Bolsheviks and the conflicts that were had in Russia between Russians and Jews. So I just thought, that's interesting to me. And then I read a little bit from the Gulag Archipelago. So that's one thing I did. I was, read a little bit of Solzhenitsyn. So that was one thing I did. And then, you know what I noticed? And then I picked up a new book. I got, what am I on? Page 26. So I'm reading a new book now, Blindness by Jose Saramago. So far, so good. It definitely got me in. And then I got some sketches, and I've been looking at Messiah. So I've been showing some of this to Sarah. And then I'll tell you physiologically what was happening. My brain, I could feel, was working right here. And I realized that I've spent so much time on the glib and the superficial that reading a book, it now takes effort. I would burn through a book like this in 4 hours. I would, but now my attention has been sucked into this sewer that we live in, this media sewer, that reading a book actually takes effort. I could feel my brain working. And this isn't like deep reading. This is not complicated stuff. It's a fictional work. But I mean, look at that. Holy shit. Paragraphs. Holy shit, you gotta actually read a whole paragraph. Whole paragraph at a time. Fuck, man. How do you... It's Sunday, I shouldn't be talking. How do you do that, man? You mean you gotta do more than just scroll and see 140 character bits and then respond to that and respond to that? A whole paragraph? Man, I read like 2 or 3 pages and I was like, whew, I need to drink a coffee or something, right? So the conversation has gotten, it's taken all our consciousness down low, mine included. My own consciousness is included. So even though I'm an artist at Twitter, right? Trump is, but he has a bigger profile. If I had 33 million, if I ran Trump's Twitter profile, he would have way more retweets than I have. If I ran Trump's Twitter, he would have 3 times the retweets and likes and engagement and things. So I'm better at Twitter than Trump is. That's just the reality. His Twitter has gotten, today was fun, but it's still not being run the way it should be run. But to become the best at Twitter, I had to actually, learn about the human condition. No, I'm not stoned. I don't smoke marijuana. You're blocked for not knowing that. You should know by now that I don't smoke marijuana and I don't use marijuana. So if you ask me that, then you're blocked. Scaviano's Twitter has improved. So I disavow my previous statements about Dan Scaviano. Mike CERNOVICH had said some very critical things of Dan that were true at the time, but what I said is no longer true. His Twitter was actually really good today. So Dan has been doing much better on Twitter. So anything that I had said that was critical of Dan, I hereby disavow, and that is in the past. Don Jr.'s got a better Twitter than mine, to be honest. Right now, the 3 best people on Twitter, Don Jr. is number 1. Don Jr., because I'm full of myself. I'm not going to lie. I'm quite a confident person. Don Jr.'s Twitter is better than my account. I don't know what happened. I don't know if he just got mad one day. I don't know. But we need to get Ivanka to take Don Jr.'s job. Ivanka and Jared Kushner were just at a party with George Soros in the Hamptons. Right? So, Ivanka, we need Ivanka to go take Don Jr.'s job over at the Trump organization. And we need Don Jr. to come on in to the Rose Garden, to the White House. No, it's true. You can look it up. No, so those of you who don't know, Ivanka and Jared Kushner were at a party with Charles Schumer and George Soros. Look it up. I don't make this stuff up. Just because what I say is unbelievable, doesn't mean it's not true. It's just the world we live in is unbelievable. So we got Ivanka and Jared partying with Soros. I don't think Don Jr. would be, hanging out with George Soros. So Don Jr.'s got the number 1 Twitter account. Don Jr. numero uno Twitter account. Mine's probably 2. 3. I don't know who number 3 would be. Who has the top 5 Twitter accounts? Who has the top 5 Twitter accounts? Your pronunciation of Solzhenitsyn's name is wrong. That's fine. It tells you that I read and I'm self-taught, that I'm an autodidact. You know how you can tell who a real intellectual is? This is going to sound counterintuitive. You know who you can tell who a real intellectual is? They mispronounce names. Now tell me why. I just gave you the answer, now tell me the reason for that. I'm teaching critical thinking right now in real time. So, the most educated people mispronounce names. Now tell me the reason for that. Nobody's going to get this. Maybe one person, because I kind of hinted it. Maybe one person will get us. I'll tell you why. Real intellectuals read books. And if you read books, you don't know how to pronounce the names. How would I know how to pronounce Solzhenitsyn? Right? Because I stay at home and read them. I didn't sit in some lecture or watch some TED Talk or some Jordan Peterson thing and pretend to know how to say his name. Right? So people, I watched a Jordan Peterson lecture for 50 minutes. Good job. That's better than most. Right? I'm glad that you watched a Jordan Peterson lecture for 45 minutes. Congrats, pat yourself on the back. That's more than most people are doing. Watching, God knows what people are watching on TV, the Kardashians and sports. But are you reading the books? Because if you're like me and you read the books and you're self-taught and you're not parroting what people say, but you're actually reading things, then you don't know how to pronounce names because you just read it. Read it all the time so you're not being spoon-fed the information by people who are telling you what to think. You're actually picking up the books, reading the books by yourself. That's how you know. People who pronounce the names correctly never read the books. What they did is they watched the TED Talk and they go, oh, it's like Alexander Solzhenitsyn said in the Gulag Archipelago. Yeah, that you heard in a 5-minute TED Talk. Congratulations. You might fool people who don't read books, but you're not going to fool me. Right? You might fool people who don't actually read the books. but I can tell right away if you've read the books or if you've watched the TED Talk. In fact, one time there was a guest on Molyneux's podcast talking about a book that he or she had written, and I could tell that that person had not only not written that book, but that the person had not read the book that was ghostwritten for that person. Isn't that interesting? So not only can I tell who hasn't read the book, I can tell when people claim to have written a book that they didn't even read the book, that somebody ghost wrote for them. That's interesting, huh? There's a lot of that going on. There's a lot of that going on. But I'm not going to get into the drama. Did I work with Michael Flynn Jr.? I did not. Did not work with Mike Flynn Jr. Where is this going, Mike? Well, Mike is going to do a mindset seminar July 15th in Los Angeles. And I'm getting my habits changed and reevaluating my own life and my own choices. Because it's just real talk. I don't feel good about what I do for a living. I feel glib. I feel superficial. I'm not reading like I used to read. I'm not thinking deeply about issues. I can tell my brain has been rewired by fame and by attention from others. I don't like what I'm becoming. I don't like my habits. I don't like what I do for a living. It's just reality. But I'm great at what I'm doing. So I'm the best in the media world right now, but I just don't like it. I like laying around on a Sunday reading books all day, not being on the internet at all, just thinking through things, walking my dog, walking with Syra, thinking about the hard problem of consciousness, thinking about free will. Does free will even exist? Now I'm at the point where I can even be careful what I say. Self-censorship works on both sides. We like to complain about how politically correct the left is. But if I told you I don't believe in free will, oh boy, people are going to be like, oh my God, God gave us free will. How dare you say that? You must not be right? I could trigger the crap out of all the people who follow me and complain about the left and how PC they are. I could trigger people right away by going after the shibboleths on the right. Just for example, I believe in single-payer health care. That's going to trigger a lot of people. Why? Because we already have it. It's called Medicare. We already have single-payer health care. It's called Medicare. We already have single-payer health care. If you go into an emergency, oh shoot, is my 5 o'clock? Oh, I can do a Patreon call. I have a Patreon call at 5 p.m. So the point is that we already have it. If you go to the emergency room, they can't turn you away. I'm doing a Patreon call in 5 minutes. So we got 5 more minutes, and then I'm going to go to do a conference called patreon.com/Mike CERNOVICH. So if you go to an emergency room, they cannot turn you away by law. And then what happens is you don't pay your bill. Everybody else subsidizes it anyway. We already have it. We already have single payer. But if you tell people I support single payer, they freak out. Oh my God, you're a socialist. Oh my God this. You're a socialist. Go into an ER and see if they turn you away right now. Here, take a hammer. Well, don't literally do this. Go into the ER, say you have heart palpitations and you don't have insurance. And see if they kick you out of the ER. Go ahead. Prove me wrong. It's an empirical fact that if you go to the ER, under law, if they accept Medicare, which they all do, they can't turn you away. Okay? So we already have. Well, if you default on the bill, that's the whole point why it's single payer. You can default on the bill. We're all subsidizing it anyway. That's what people don't get. You'll get bankrupted. No, just bankruptcy. No big deal, dude. Bankruptcy isn't that big of a deal. I don't know why people are like, oh, you can be... Bankruptcy is not that big of a deal. I know multimillionaires who pled bankruptcy. So the idea that bankruptcy is bad is what they teach poor people. Just so I can tell you that. They come after you if you don't pay. Plead bankruptcy. Restructure your debt. This is how poor people think. You know what the number one financial myth that poor people have? That bankruptcy is bad. The number one myth that poor people have is bankruptcy is bad. I know countless multimillionaires who have pled bankruptcy because they took a big business risk, they put it on credit cards, they leveraged themselves, they went all in and it failed. They pled bankruptcy, they walked away, they rebuilt, and now they're multimillionaires. So the rich people file for bankruptcy all the time. They call it restructuring. They'll say, well, you know, let's restructure the terms of the deal. Right? That's how rich people talk. It's the thing, I've been poor, I've been rich. So I know what poor people are taught, and I know what rich people are taught. And I know that rich people aren't afraid of playing bankruptcy. This is 100% fact. Poor people and middle class people are afraid of bankruptcy. That's who fears it because it's like a morality thing. They think, oh my God, if I plead bankruptcy, it's, failure. That's all morality of the rich. That's slave morality. That's the morality the rich people have taught you, which is that pleading bankruptcy is bad, but they'll file in a second. Rich people will file for bankruptcy in a second. But poor people, middle class people, you better not, because that's a bad thing. So that's the number one difference between what rich people and poor people are taught. Rich people know that you restructure debt. That's what rich people know. And just restructure it. Oh, but you're deadbeat. Deadbeat. So there's a lot of things that people are told that's a lie. But my own people who oppose political correctness, if I go, hey man, plead bankruptcy, how dare you? You signed a contract. You think Ben Shapiro wouldn't file for bankruptcy? That's how stupid a lot of people are. You really think Ben Shapiro or Bill Kristol wouldn't file for bankruptcy if they hadn't over-leveraged themselves? Unbelievable, right? That's called being a chump and being a sucker. Is all the morality that people are taught, the middle-class morality people are taught. The rich don't play by those rules. The rich don't play by those rules. They'll file for bankruptcy in a second. But if you're middle class, you better not do it, man, because only bad people file for bankruptcy, Even though many of my friends who are millionaires did it. I know plenty of millionaires. Who file for bankruptcy. And if they hadn't filed for bankruptcy, they wouldn't be millionaires. How do you feel about that? So they're millionaires because they filed for bankruptcy. But if you bought into the lie about it, you'd be like, can't do it. Can't do it. Can't file, man. Can't file. That's red pill. It's just the red pill. I teach people the truth. Which triggers a lot of people because a lot of my values aren't conservative. Right? Because it's a scam, dude. All these conservatives. Dude, do you really think that conservatives live by the rules they lay out for you? You really think conservatives like Ted Cruz are ethical and honest people? Does anybody believe that? Does anybody believe that Ben Shapiro is an ethical and honest person? Does anybody believe that anybody at the National Review are ethical and honest people? That Bill Kristol's an honest guy? Because if you believe that, if you believe Paul Ryan is honest and ethical, and that these conservative pundits are honest and ethical, didn't Joe Walsh not pay child support? Right? I think Joe Walsh. So Joe Walsh was, talking about Trump's. Here, I think it's Joe Walsh. Yeah, Joe Walsh never paid his child support. So Joe Walsh is ranting and raving about Donald Trump's tweet today, but Joe Walsh owed child support. Don't be conned by these people. There's a lot of dishonesty in the world. I'm going on Patreon. I'm going to do the conference call. Oh, shit. If you're on Patreon, you can find me there. Patreon.com/Mike CERNOVICH. By the way, I might go into the bobble business. What do you guys think? Should I go into the business, the bobble business? True story. I got some prototypes of baubles and stuff. What do you think? I think they're cool. I don't know. I think they're kind of cool. But we'll see. Patreon.com/Mike CERNOVICH. Patreon.com /Mike Cernovich.